Well, hello, I'm John, your whiskey neighbor, and I thought I would do a quick episode today about perhaps an underappreciated Scotch, although I certainly have been reading or seeing more about it. But I'd like to take a look at Old Pulteney, just their 12-year-old release. Catch you after the break. So as I said going in, I wanted to look at Old Pulteney, number 12. Really, it's quite a fun bottle. It's hard not to do a little bit of a review of this Scotch and not showcase the bottle a little bit. It looks to me like that top of the distill, and there's a compass on the bottom of the bottle. I've seen other reviewers point that out, but it's still quite unique. You certainly recognize it, and certainly just about all of their literature or their way they promote their Scotch talks about their maritime roots. It is up in the northeastern part of Scotland where this comes from, in a little place called Wick. I actually don't know enough about this distillery. And I will say the reason why I said underappreciated is, I came to this Scotch later in my journey. I had spent, I think, I don't know if I've ever really shared my Scotch journey, but I spent time drinking Highlands and Speysides, and then discovered Islay Scotches, and spent more time there, actually quite a bit. I really enjoy peaty and smoky whiskeys. But then kind of came back to other parts of Scotland and tried just a variety of different finishes and ages. But coming back to today. So today you tuned in because you saw I was going to look at Old Pulteney. This is their 12-year-old release, which, partly means it's really quite available. And it's a really good value. But I mean, I put that term on there, and right away anybody who likes Scotch probably doesn't want to follow the review. So imagine that I didn't say anything about being a good value, and instead, what is it about this? Well, it's a great Scotch in the sense that it's aged in ex-bourbon barrels for 12 years. It's not finished in a different cask. So right away when you approach this Scotch, it's a Scotch. We look at certain things that characterize whiskey, and certainly Scotch has changed and evolved over the last 20 years, and just a ton of work in finishing or double wooding or double casking or changing, because of course wood has such an impact on a spirit. But this deserves an evening. This deserves a good conversation with someone, and coming back to it, giving it a nose, giving it a taste, and almost rediscovering what a nicely put together barley aged in ex-bourbon can actually taste like. On the nose, light heather. Everyone who reviews this or talks about it, and they, I think, say on their bottle even that there's a sea air, because of course they're on the sea. And possibly a little bit of salt in there, a little bit of brine, but it's quite faint for me. But right away, you pour this, and I've been spending a lot of time recently in rye and whiskey. You're reminded again of the subtler sugars that come from barley. Yeah, the grainier notes. Yeah, it's a great nose. Spend some time with it. Put in some water. Opens up very nice with water. and onto a little bit of taste. Lots of fun things here. So when I have Old Pulteney, I really like there is a little bit of spiciness to it. Not in the terms of spicy like other grains you get. I've spent a lot of time in rye and whatnot, but it perks up on the tongue. It does interest me in the way it coats my mouth. I find it a little bit oily, not oppressively, not slippery, but it's got a little bit of that in it. I find a bit of citrus in it. Yeah, and coming back to that nose, there is a sweetness that carries through it, but it's not the crushing sweetness of some bourbons, which you might be looking for, right? That corn sweetness. And it's not the floral sweetness of rye. It's just that gentle, relaxed, but it's present. That sweet you'd get from a nice sweet bread. So it's got a little bit of that. It's definitely got some spice though. It perks up on my tongue. I like the spice that they have managed to put into this. And the way they've prepared it. And the finishes is where, I catch a little bit of wood. Actually, all the way through you can catch a little bit of wood, but it never overpowers. This isn't highly oaky. Yeah, it's wonderful to come back to me, what is just a great Scotch. When I pour it for friends, they appreciate it. If they're new to whiskey, I find they often try out or get into some other finishes or something that's more peppery or something that has more wine notes in it because or the sherry notes, tannins are higher. But when you're looking, like what is some of the differences in Scotch compared to Irish, compared to Canadian whiskeys, and there maybe because I'm under the influence, a little more maritime influence, salty air. Yeah, I could go there. But if you've never had Old Pulteney and you like Spacesides, you should really give it a try. I really think this is easily a 4-star Scotch, and yet it's very affordable. It's easy to find. It's not terribly old, and it's not terribly complex, which I know is often a criticism I give of other whiskeys when it's just, flat noting. But this isn't flat noted. Yeah. Really, if you are new to a Scotch and you want to try a few more good representations of Scotch, put this on your list. If you're a long-time Scotch drinker, but you haven't had Old Pulteney, their 17 is going away. I think maybe they're 21 as well. They're coming back with 25. And those are awesome, but they also cost more. I don't want to make it about cost, but this is an excellent Scotch. I would gladly have this as one of the 6 bottles that I have on my shelf. It's so hard when you try to limit and say, well, if I only had a few, and then you right away start thinking of so many other bottles that are really quite good as well. But I think what I wanted to get across in this review is, when you give it time, it becomes sweeter. It's never syrupy, it's never corn and sweet, that kind of thing. But you'll notice more of the sweetness. When you give it time, you notice more of the salty air. Okay, I don't know whether I notice the salty air, but a little bit of brine, a little bit. And when you taste it, it is spicy enough that you're interested. That sweetness continues, coats wonderfully in the mouth. Just begs to have more. Your mouth just seems to like, oh, this is very nice. I like this. And the finish, you know, there's a little bit of bitterness in it. But the bitterness is balanced with that sweetness that comes on, or with that oily mouthfeel. You need something that kind of cleans it out a bit, or it just become tacky, or it would put you off. So anyways, you know, it's a unique bottle, very cool. It's reasonably easy to find, and I have a hard time finding something that I really don't like about this Scotch. So from me, 4 stars for sure, and I definitely recommend try. So give it a try. If you have a different experience of Old Pulteney, or you'd like me to try a different Scotch or a different whiskey, let me know. Hope you enjoyed this short review. We are in the basement now. It's if I don't get home from work at about 4:30, I can't use the outside light anymore. So I thought, well, what can I do in here? And so I've turned every light on and tried to find a background that wasn't too crazy. Sorry for that. At any rate, at least for the winter months, I think most of my reviews will be shot down here. You guys drink responsibly, but share comments, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I really appreciate that. We're starting to grow a bit of a community here. And drink responsibly. Try pouring Old Pulteney 12 year. It's a good Scotch.